Good day everyone, I am Elaine D. Sorin and today, the Group 1 will discuss a multiple choice question and we will start it with a short history about this type of questions. Multiple choice standardized testing is the idea of a question with a fixed number of choices and with a high degree of objectivity that was invented in the early 20th century. And did you know who is the father of multiple choice testing? It is Frederick J. Kelly. So what is a multiple choice question? These are fundamental survey questions which provides respondents a multiple answer options. And primarily, multiple choice questions can have a single select or multi-select answer options. So there are 3 amazing tips in writing multiple choice questions. The first one is don't forget to include the other options. So where do you usually see these options? Right? These are usually be seen in the survey questionnaire where the respondents have the rights or the opportunity to write their exact answers, especially if their answer is not included in the options. The second one is provide a clear option. So I will no longer explain this because it will be explained by my other member in the guidelines in creating or making an option. The third one is avoid asking yes or no questions because if you will do that, it will no longer be called multiple choice questions because there will be only 2 options, right? So there are 5 elements of a quality multiple choice questions, and these are standard, stimulus, stem, key, and distractor. The standard establishes the purpose and the topic of the assessment item. So the students should be able to read the standard and know what to expect in terms of the topic and the desired action. This is usually seen at the head of the section with the problem sets below it. The stimulus provides the necessary background information to understand the problem. For word-based problems, it is the background material that sets up the sentence or a paragraph. The stem asks the actual problem to solve. This is critical because it provides the exact direction that brings the prior elements to conclusion. The key is the correct answer. It should be completely clear and not leaving any doubt for someone who has mastered the skill. Lastly, the distractors. These are the other options or the incorrect responses for the assessment item. These should be plausible enough that they could be seen as the correct answer if the test taker has missed a step or applied a common misconception.
Guidelines for writing multiple choices items tests. Number 1. What is specified in the learning outcomes will drive the content of the test items. What the SLO state is what the items should measure. Number 2. Generally, higher level thinking should emphasize over recall, but this decision will depend to the great extent on the learning outcome statements. Number 3. A general rule for writing items is to avoid measuring overly specific and overly general knowledge, but these two will be influenced by the SLO statements. Number 4. The intent of the SLO statement may require a student to give a written opinion in terms of, for example, a position on an argument, for which you could use the term you and your in your state instructions and test questions. Number 5. Use vocabulary that is appropriate for the group being tested. Keep it consistent with SLO expectation and simple enough that all students will be able to understand it. Number 6. Edit and proof all items, proof, and instruction to make sure grammar, punctuation, capitalization, and spelling are correct. Number 7. Be conservative in your use of words. Don't use excess verbiage. Minimize as much as possible. Number 8. Make sure that the items do not assume racial, class, or gender values or suggested stereotype. Number 9. Ensure the items does not contain wording that would offend any group. Number 10. Make sure minority interests are considered and are well represented. In general, writing highly quality multiple choice items is not an easy task. In addition to the following items writing guidelines that are considered to be a best practice, the item must match in the item to the SLO statements. If the outcome statement is lacking in terms of measurability, then writing items that address the intent of the outcome statements can become very problematic. Now, let's move on in the guidelines for writing the item STEM. Number 1. Write the STEM as a question. An incomplete sentence format is seldom a better choice than a question for an item STEM. Number 2. Make the STEM as clear as possible so the student knows exactly what is being asked. Included only the information that is necessary. Don't use excessive verbiage. Number 3. Place any direction that you use to accompany text or a graphic above the text or graphic. Typically, the text or graphic comes before the question. Number 4. Put the main or central idea of what you want to ask in the STEM, not in the answer choices. The choices may be longer than the STEM, but the STEM should contain all of what you want to ask. Number 5. Word the questions positively. Avoid negatives such as not or except. Using negatives can be confusing to the student and can also give an advantage to test-wise to students. Number 6. Make sure that something in the STEM does not give clue that will help the student choose the correct answer. For example, if you use child in the question and children for 1 or 2 of the incorrect answer choices, you will be giving the clue that the choices with children are probably not the correct answer. Number 7. Don't make an item opinion-based, such as this is, don't ask, in your opinion, because this would make any answer choice as possibly correct answer. And last, don't try trick questions. The purpose of the items is not to trick the student or to measure how the student deal with the trick questions.
Good day everyone, I am DPMX Sukuman and I am here to discuss how to make options in multiple choice type of test. Number 1. Provide 3 to 5 options per question. Make sure that there is only one correct answer. Number 2. Options should be arranged in a logical order. Make sure that your option in your question should arrange properly to avoid bias toward a certain position. It could be alphabetical order, natural order, and shortest to longest or vice versa, longest to shortest order. Number 3, options should be closely related to each other. Number 4, options should have grammatical parallelism and similar length to avoid giving clues about the correct answer. The best way to understand the grammatical parallelism is look for the example. Lacking of parallelism, she like cooking, jogging, and to read. While the correct parallelism or the parallelism is she like cooking, jogging, and reading. Or it could be she like to cook, jog, and read. Number 5, arrange the correct answer should not follow any pattern. Number 6, use none of above and only when there is one absolutely correct answer. Number 7, avoid all of the above is an option, especially if it's intended to be a correct answer. Number 8, make all options realistic and reasonable. Let's go to the rules in making choices. Rules for writing STEM. Number 1, checking comprehension and the improve higher level thinking. The key to preparing Memory Plus application question is to place the concept in a life situation. Number 2, use the question format. For example, the incomplete statement format. The capital of California is in blank. This is less effective, while the direct question format, in which of the following cities in the capital of California, more effective questions. Number 3, expressing full information. Number 4, removing unnecessary information. Number 5, avoid negative words. The example of negative word is not and except. Using negative can be confusing to the student and can be also give advantage to test wise students. So let's go to the rules for writing alternatives. Number 1, using only best answer. Number 2, making options similar in the grammar and length. Number 3, keeping the distraction plausible. Use answer given a previous open-ended exam to provide realistic dictadors. Number 4, avoiding using all of the above or none of the above. Number 5, varying the orders for the correct option. And that's all.
Good day. I am going to explain to you the mistakes to avoid when you are creating or making a multiple choice questions. There are 4. The grammatical cues, the logical cues, the repeating words, and the last is the using absolute terms. So let's talk about the grammatical cues. Grammatical cues most often occurs when the instructors or the teachers didn't follow or didn't use the grammatically procedure from the question stem. For example, when you are using the and, the plural, the verbs, and when using singular and plural forms. The second one is the logical cues. These mistakes mostly occurs or mostly happen when all of the options contains the right answer but there are most true answer that you can find among those four options like A, B, C, and D. The third one is the repeating words. Students mostly use this when finding a clue word or a clue options from the choices that can lead them to find the best answer for the questions that they have read. Fourth is the using absolute terms. These four mistakes to avoid when creating or making multiple choice questions that is not related or appropriate to the questions that the students have read, so that the student can easily answer the questions because they can understand that there are choices that is not related to the question. Three types of multiple choice. But first, we are going to define what is multiple exam. Multiple exam is the tool or instrument that can be used for the students to be able to enhance or develop their critical thinking ability or critical thinking skills. The three types of multiple choice exam. First is the negative questions. Second is the best answer. And the last one is the multiple answer and combined response. So let's talk about the negative questions. The negative questions specifically ask the students not to choose the best answer. So meaning to say, when you are reading a question, you can easily identify if it is negative question when you encounter the word except. So it is easily to identify because when you are reading the question, when you read the magic word except, it is negative questions. So the second one is the best answer. Best answer can easily identify if the questions is asking for the best answer and the choices is all correct, but there are one options that is most true. Third one is the multiple answered and combined response. This type of multiple choice exam leads the questions to have two or more possible options or two or more possible answers. So just like for example, when you are answering a questions and for example, the choices are A, 1 or 2, B, 2 or 3, C, 3 or 4, or D, 1 or 4.
I am C. Pellegrino. Now, I'm going to explain about the advantages and disadvantages of multiple choices. First, the advantages. Allow for assessment of a wide range of learning objectives. Since teachers' goals are in the questions, that is why assessment was wide range of learning. Objective nature limits scoring bias. Since the test is objective and result is limit scoring bias, students can quickly respond to many items permitting wide sampling and coverage of content because it has a question in which they only to choose. Difficult can be manipulated by adjusting similarities of distractors. Efficient to administer and score. Incorrect response patterns can be analyzed, less influenced by guessing than true or false. Analyze phenomena. Students gain analytic question where they need to analyze to answer it. Apply principle to new situations. Objective tests can use situational questions, but there is a definitely correct answer. Comprehend concept and principles. It refers to understand the concept of each question and the principle of multiple choice. Discriminate between fact and opinion. Since this is pure objectives, it is all about the facts. Interpret charts and graphs. When this question is something to do with graphs and charts, so students increase their interpretation on the certain things. Make inferences from given data. From the result is easy to collect data. Validity, because it has sources of reference that validate the information or questions. reliability. Since this is based on the past information, efficiency. It is efficient because you are assessing they learn. Versatility. Articulate explanations. Somehow it shows to connect your knowledge in order to explain well. Display thought, process, furnish information. And now, disadvantages. First, for teachers. While they are fast process, they are time consuming to create. It is so complicated to create questions and options because you need to pattern in the objects and the options are mostly likely same. They don't produce any qualitative data, solely quantitative, because the test is objective. They limit the respondent in his answers. That's why it's important to provide another option with a text box. They limit the types of knowledge that can be assessed by multiple choices tests. What they learn from you, they give to you. It means there is no self-opinions. Multiple choices tests are best adapted for testing well-defined or lower order skills. Problem solving and higher order reasoning skills are better assessed through short answer and easy tests, or rather essay test. Since it is an objective test, it is limits the short answer or understanding. Lastly, take time and skill to construct, especially good and questions. Now, for students. A student who is incapable of answering a particular question can simply select a random answer and still have a chance of receiving a mark for it. It seems like randomized answer where they don't know the right answer for the questions. Often test literacy skills. If the student reads the question carefully, the answer is easy to recognize even if the student knows little about the subject. Because more often questions are definition in which the students need to memorize only or remember something part of the definition so that it's easy to recognize the answers. Expose students to misinformation that can influence subsequent thinking about the content. Provide unprepared student the opportunity to guess and which guesses that are right. They get credit for things they don't know. Guessing between right or wrong, or it is like a random answer. And the last, have possible ambiguity in the examiner's interpretation of the items. And that's all. Thank you.
In this,
Presentation.
Of Group 1.
One about
Multiple choices.
thank you for
Thank you
Thank you
for
for
watching.
watching.